What I notice with people a lot of times, especially people who are really interested in energy medicine or energy healing or plant medicine or whatever, is that they are, well, one, they're so finely tuned to the stuff, but also they have a need to do something when it's really just about being in it. Hi, you're listening to Healing That Sticks, Changing the Paradigm Around Health and Healing. I'm Amina Mir, a medical intuitive and an energy healer, and with me is Chuck Crook, a therapist and life force attunement practitioner. And at this moment, when medical practices are both politicized and emotionally fraught, we think that energy medicine is the cure. So thank you for listening. Today we're talking about too much energy healing or overdosing on energy work. And hey, Chuck.
Hey, Amina.
So you are gone from New Orleans and back in California.
Yeah, I missed the Bayou spirit, but we didn't get to go all the way down outside the city to the Bayou where you have to live on a generator and really get the whole experience. Next trip.
That would be super fun, but also think about when you're living on a generator, like right now, it's May, in the middle of May, it's 90 degrees, it's super humid. So you definitely have to be in the right state of mind for that.
Yeah.
But we've been having some great political things happening in Louisiana, lots of movement and, a direction that's much more affirming to the people who live here. So that's all pretty exciting.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks. So I wanted to talk about an overdose in energy healing. And you and I have had a couple of shared clients who we feel like had, or we watched them suffer the results of too much energy healing. And I think there's one client that we both shared, and actually there's multiple that we both shared who had that situation, but is there a particular one that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, you had advised this person that she needed certain, I guess, integration type work would be her next step. But there was an old term, I don't know, over the last 20, 30 years, whatever, I'm showing my age, but we used to kind of call it window shopping, where people would try this body worker or this energy healer. And then like the next week, there was a better flavor, another flavor, and they would try that one. And what ended up happening was, unbeknownst to her, having done some, I guess, DMT type work, and didn't understand the power of that and didn't really talk to someone who could give her the bigger context of how you need to approach that if that's going to be good for you in advance, which kind of comes back to what you were saying about a person seeing their doctor in Western medicine. It seems like what we're trying to advocate is, whether it's just energy medicine or Western medicine, check in with your energy body and make sure that's the right medicine for you, instead of just launching yourself into it and then dealing with the consequences after. So she just launched into a DMT session, and that was very powerful for her, like it would be for anyone. And then, without knowing that she shouldn't do it, she already had 5 days later, she had a Kundalini session scheduled up at Santa Barbara. So she's now in the car leaving LA 5 days after this really powerful hallucinogenic medicine that she's taken, into the Kundalini session, which was just pure energy work. There was no plant medicine involved or anything like that. It was just a practitioner and she doing this Kundalini work. But because she'd done the DMT work, her channels were so open and it just kind of exploded. So she came back to Los Angeles after that. And as I recall, we had recommended this Reiki healer and then we recommended some cranial sacral work, but that was basically repair. That was like putting her energy body back almost in a coherent state, so she could just literally not be going crazy. I mean, to borrow a pedestrian term, she literally was like waking up in the middle of the night and still having flashbacks to that energy medicine session, and having panic attacks. So moral of the story is, like, she didn't understand the power of the work.
Yeah, and I think what happens is when one has, whether actually, and I personally put plant medicine in that category of a sort of a kind of energy healing, or maybe even closer to a near death experience, as this big awakening. It opens you up, it breaks you open. And so you need to sit with that and let it soak into your body and sit with all the different ways in which it affects you before you launch into anything else. And you can't really, and how long that's going to take, that can take, a week, it can take 2 weeks, it can take a month, it can take 6 months. But I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful that is. And it's sort of like somebody, as I said, similarly with Western medicine, it's like somebody getting a surgery and then, 3 days later going off and doing some other thing, like some other, let's say let's say you get dental surgery, even a small dental surgery, which can be a big thing. And then the next day, the next week, deciding to get Botox or filler injections in your face or whatever, in your mouth, and not realizing the way in which those different things can affect each other and kind of could actually change the way you speak, the way you feel, how your mouth feels forever. And when you have energy medicine or a plant medicine experience, you get a big rush of adrenaline. You get a sense of that freshness of being broken open, of seeing the world differently, of experiencing things differently. And it's such a delicious and powerful experience that a lot of times we want it again, right? We're like, oh, I can't wait to get my next session with, oh my God, that felt so good. I'm going to go see another energy healer and get this thing, rather than being with it and putting it all back together again.
Can you say more about the adrenaline? So the adrenaline rush you get from breaking out of your shell, out of your bubble, into a more unified state where you're tapping into a more universal level of energy so that's a big awakening. And you're saying that the brain, as a result of that, and the systems are making adrenaline. And is it more adrenaline than you would just get like from your usual day-to-day living, be going, just doing something exciting?
Yeah, it's definitely more energy than you would be getting, because the way in which it works is it kind of breaks you down and makes you see things differently. Sort of like, again, I'm using another metaphor, but sort of like when you move into a new house, right? When you move into a new house and you bring your furniture from your old house, or you're looking at, your view, the light is different in the morning. It feels really good. And when you see your old furniture there, it makes you think about things differently. When you see what you're opening up your possessions, it all feels really different. Your new neighborhood, all of those things feel really different and exciting. And then after you're there for a little while, let's say, a year or whatever, or 6 months, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is kind of, I'm kind of tired. Like everything's the same. Wouldn't it feel great to move into a new place and have that freshness again? And we forget that part of that process of moving is really exhausting, is draining. You have to get all your utilities put in, you have to organize all those things, and we forget that that's part of that new perspective that you get in with energy medicine. But again, anything that you do that's really big, that breaks you open, is going to have some side effects that aren't that great, that are kind of difficult and things that you have to go through. And you have to leave things behind, and leaving things behind is always painful. And so if you go straight, if you move into your house, you set it all up, it's great. And then you decide, you know what, like this, that was so exciting and so fun, I'm going to move again next week. You'll feel terrible because it's so much to take things all apart and get rid of things and move things and do, all of that stuff is really hard.
That's a good way of explaining it. It kind of reminds me of like a friend that went to India recently that I do a lot of meditation work with. He came back from India and we were meditating. I'm like, part of you's still there. Like you're physically, your body is back here, but the experiences that you had there, your soul liked them. Your soul was into that. Your soul like was fed by that. And somehow you're still, so our energy is a very, it takes time. He'd only been back a week, right? So you're not fully, back here. So it'd be like moving, similar to what you're saying. So what about, same question to you, what about a client that you've worked with that had this issue of ODing or overdosing on, not in a fatal way like you would if you were using some heavy duty medicine, but it's not totally different either?
Yeah, and I've had clients who've had really difficult situations where they might be going through, let's say, a lot of health issues, let's say, and I do a session with them, and that might resolve a lot of the stuff that they're going through in that session. And then, of course, when you're in a session, a lot of times symptoms, things like that, all go away in that session. And then because your body's detoxing, they might come back, and they might come back in a different way, in another, they come back for you to sort of release them again or rethink about them or revisit them, maybe a little bit less strong. And so you rush out and see another energy healer because that felt so great to be all open, rather than, again, so this person was going through some physical stuff. I did a session with her. She felt really great. But then she went off to get a session of, there was another energy healer who was in town, and someone who she really liked, who was from Portugal. And she was like, oh, I'm going to go see this person. And she did have a great experience in the moment, but then she felt horrible afterwards. And she was asking me, she reached back out to me and she was like, oh, I feel so horrible. I don't know what's happening from the session. And I said, oh, I wonder what. And then when I had a conversation, and I was like, oh, your body feels like it's basically like you have an energy surge. Like, let's say, we have an energy surge with our computer when it's plugged into the wall, and you get like an energy surge and it blows out all the circuits. Like, I was like, your body's kind of blown out. And now you have to go and sit and allow it to reintegrate and reconnect. And, some of the stuff that you do when you do another energy session right away erases some of the work that you've already done, which means you might have to do it again. And some of it also just, now your recovery time is going to be twice as long because you've restarted that whole healing process again.
So the circuit breaker it was blown out, so to speak. And so as a result of that, it's like a leak. It's like all the good healing work that you had done that was becoming integrated has now been sort of overwhelmed, and your body, your energy body, your emotional body, your spirit, like everything was put in a unified state. And then when you blew the circuit breaker, what that tends to do, in my experience, is just that those bodies are no longer in a unified state. Like the emotions overwhelm, the minds, can't overthinking things. The trapped emotions that you were processing are now, like you say, regress back to their defensive postures. So there's no longer, it's like each of those bodies is like running a different computer program. Right. Like Word isn't speaking to your calendar anymore.
Right. Yeah. And the other interesting thing about it is we were talking about, you and I were talking about how that's similar to Western medicine, that if you go and see one doctor for your kidneys and another doctor for headache and another doctor for a digestive issue, and they're all giving you their medications, right? But those can affect each other, and they can have contraindications with each other or with the things that are happening in your body, and you can end up really sick. And we all know stories of people who, let's say, had multiple health issues and were taking multiple medications and ended up in hospital where they were told, let's say in the emergency room, that, oh my God, these things, you can't take these things together, or you can't take this thing. If you've got a kidney issue, you can't take this thing for your head. And that's another reason why I feel like a lot of times it's good to have, if you're going to work with multiple energy medicine people, that you allow your practitioners to speak to each other, or that you simply give yourself enough time to integrate, that you simply, like, you take your kidney medication and you are like, oh, I also have a headache, but then you're like, all right, I'm just going to deal with the headache right now, or I'm just going to deal with this thing. Or you go back to your kidney doctor and say, hey, I have a headache. Or you go back to, your, if you're dealing with like an enteric, an intestinal issue or whatever, that you go back to your internist and say, hey, I've got this digestive issue happening, but I also have this kidney thing happening, so that everybody's aware of the different things that are happening in your body, and then they can work together. Because you were talking about that person who had the Kundalini session, the DMT session, and then was able to, with some very gentle Reiki and craniosacral, was able to sort of quiet the body back down again and put the emotional body and a mental body and the physical body back together into one piece.
And learn a lesson. I mean, part of, I guess, if there was an upside, a positive to come out of that experience for her, she realized, like, this medicine is like really a process that takes time. And this isn't something I do every 6 months or a year. This is like every 5 years or whatever's right for each person. But she now understands that. Unlike another client I wanted to talk about, whose lesson doesn't seem to learn what, according to what she's telling me, she's hard on herself because she says, I need to learn this lesson. I need to learn this lesson. I was like, you've told me this for 5 years. The lesson she says she needs to learn is, I need to learn to listen to my body. Because she'll go to a Western doctor for chronic pain issue, and they'll be like, a nerve block. Oh, that didn't really help you. Okay, then we're going to put you on a really high dose of Lyrica or whatever it may be. They're kind of that throw in the kitchen sink routine, and these are supposedly the best people, best doctors, best thought up doctors in, Los Angeles. And so she, for whatever reason, the authority figure knows better than her listening to her own body, which a lot of us have. But she ends up saying to me, when we do the energy work, to sort of put her back together the same way the other patient did with the after the Kundalini and the DMT. This is a Western medicine version of that. So you've got the plant medicine, energy medicine blowing the circuit breaker, and then you have the Western doctor version of setting her back. And with chronic pain, it's so, in her particular condition, the reason it's so devastating is because her condition, when you have something like chronic pain, it's like you're not driving a Chevy truck, you're driving a Maserati. Like the engine, when you have chronic pain, it's so finely tuned and so nuanced. If you blow out a circuit breaker, that is devastating to a chronic pain patient, a long-term chronic pain patient.
Well, what I notice with people a lot of times, especially people who are really interested in energy medicine or energy healing or plant medicine or whatever, is that they are, well, one, they're so finely tuned to the stuff, but also they have a need to do something when it's really just about being in it. And so we, and again, in the Western world, that is like, that's a big thing, right? That we have to do something. We have to get up. We have to do something. We have to take some sort of action. And sometimes the action is just sitting with the thing. Like instead of saying, oh, I have this lesson that I need to listen to my body, or I have this lesson that I need to space out my energy healing. And so I should do this. I should do biofeedback to help me do that. I should do, whereas maybe it's just sitting with it and being quiet and noticing what's happening in the body, which requires that kind of subtle work that I think a lot of people have discomfort with. But it allows things to process through you.
Yeah, relationship with self in the beginning stages of the work that I have been trained in, the sort of third or fourth stage of that work, you develop what's called relationship with self, is what we call it. I mean, and what that is that you learn, one learns to quiet the mind, quiet the body, relaxation response. And then that in that next stage, you're actually no longer listening from your story. You're no longer listening from your patterns. You're listening to quiet listening. There's no sound, but you're listening with a different faculty. And that's how one can do what you're suggesting. And you'll get feedback from yourself about what you need. You may not get it in that particular quiet beingness experience, but you'll be showering the next day and you'll get an epiphany. I need to walk. I need to I need to do nothing for a week. I need to sleep more, whatever, but it won't be coming from your intellect, it'll be coming from a universal wisdom. And
yeah. And any of that kind of work where you learn to get quiet and listen to yourself, whether it's sitting in meditation, whether it's going for walks, even, gently having gentle conversations with people or being in nature, the information comes to you not always in the moment of that being quiet and being, having that time for yourself, but it makes a space, it makes cracks for information to come through. And so maybe that, it comes through in the shower or while you're swimming laps, or which is what happens to me, or while you're, doing this or that, work in your garden or something. And it also allows, just those things of being and being quiet and getting that information, and also knowing that we're human beings. So we're not going to stay in that forever. So, we all have done tons of work, or most of us have, especially people who are interested in energy healing. Everybody's done their work and meditated and done their things. But we also all have moments where our human gets in the way, and we might know that we need to have some being rather than doing, and we might know that we need to sit quietly and get information, and we get knocked off, right? We get knocked off our tracks. We all do, because, sometimes it feels like that's taking too long. So I'm curious to know what was for this person who, this woman who you said, who had the DMT, then had the Kundalini awakening, then had to get some very gentle craniosacral Reiki work, but still with space in between, like not every single day. But what was her learning at the end for her to be able to go back to real life?
The learning was to honor your growth process, one's growth process. Like you have, I know that when you and I went out to Sedona on that trip, you were suggesting, there's going to be energy opportunities, being vortexes and different energies that we're not going to get, in Los Angeles or wherever. So while we were out there, I just noticed with myself, I'm going around sort of the long way around to answer your question, but while we were out there, I know I connected in with sort of my oversoul, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better term, is like this being, part of myself was like on the other side of a river. And it was kind of like that part was just letting me know, that oversoul was letting me know, I'm here, you're not alone, I got your back. I think that's what people are really, a lot of people, and particularly this client you're asking about, I think she wanted to know that she was okay, that she was going to be okay, that I'm not going to live with this chronic issue my whole life. You know, I'm not going to suffer forever. Like if she just knew that, so she's looking for a breakthrough to reassure her.
Right.
And really what we're saying is the issue, the reassurance that one is looking for in that case, my own case, her case, probably most people, it's inward. It's like
Right.
going inward is where you're going to get the reassurance. Finding the next energy breakthrough from the next energy healer can be helpful until you've had enough. You integrate that, and it can be a slow process. But I think what we're really talking about is sort of almost related, but not the exact same. It's an existential issue
Right.
that, you know, that I existentially, I know I've got a soul. I know I have a higher self. I know it's not just something I read about in a book or I went to a talk or I know these other people believe that. It's something that you actually connect with.
Right.
And that gives you something that nobody else can give you, right? And that's the way we're made. Like we have to give that to ourselves. And if we're not getting that, maybe part of illness is just, I don't know how it works because it's different for everybody, but maybe the illness is to lead you further inward,
Right.
you know, as
Yeah.
part of your process.
Is learning about, where you're disconnected. A lot of times learning about the places where you're disconnected can resolve an illness, because you're like, oh, well, that where I was disconnected, that's your lesson, right? That's where you're disconnected from yourself, your higher self, your other beings, other living beings on this planet. And I think also, I think like a big lesson for everyone in terms of energy healing is, it may seem like it's very subtle or kind of nothing or nothingness or somebody waving their hands over you or whatever, but it actually is really powerful. So you do need to think about and massage is energy medicine. Acupuncture is energy medicine. Depending on how someone works, something that may seem quite mechanical may actually have an energy aspect to it, so that it's worth it to take the time between your various things, at your various experiences or your various things, to let those things soak in before you do the next one, even though it might feel great to go, from your energy healer to your acupuncturist, to your chiropractor, to your lymphatic drainage massage person. It might feel really good to go between them all, but it's better to do one thing, leave it, let it soak in. I would say for most people, you kind of need at least 4 days between energy healing sessions. Some things take longer depending on, but if you have a really big breakthrough, like you were saying, like that person with the DMT, or another client of mine who really had to really took herself apart in a session, she might need 2 weeks or 3 weeks before she can do anything else. She might need a month. She might need 2 months. You kind of need, and I would say if you're working with a healer, talk to them and tell them like, hey, like, this is, what am I going to feel like? How long is it going to last? What do you feel like? How long do you think I should wait before I do anything else? Or what can I do? I think that it's worth it to keep those all in mind, because it might feel like nothing, might feel like somebody waving their hands over you, or, you're imagining something, but it really is making big changes. So you need to give it that space.
Yeah, I was just thinking about when we did the Joe Dispenza retreat in Mexico, and we ran into people. We were like, we did one week retreat, which was amazing, and we came back and we thought, hey, that was a great experience. But I remember we met a couple of people there. They're like, oh no, we do this all the time. Like, this is our fifth one, and we're going again in a month. We're going to the one in Ireland or wherever it might have been. And we were just like, wow. So it kind of like, it's even being in a powerful group energy like that is powerful energy healing. You're up at 4:30 in the morning
Yeah.
meditating. It's like, it'd be like going to a silent retreat and coming home and then like just doing your laundry and heading out again. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
kind of a junkie state. You're almost like you're high. Like you said, there you go with you have the adrenaline, you don't want to lose it.
Yeah, you get that surge, or whether it's adrenaline or it's not adrenaline, maybe it's no, endorphin is really the right
Endorphin
word.
hits.
Yeah, you get that endorphin hit and you feel really good. And and that's similar to doing sports, right? You feel, as a swimmer. So at the end of a swim thing, when I've just, swum laps for a mile or whatever, and I get out and I feel so good and so happy, but I wouldn't just jump in and do another mile, even though I might feel like carrying on swimming, like keeping going because it feels so good when you get into that right place. But it's better to stop and let your body process and break, recover from that experience till your next one.
Yeah. Wow, I'm tired. I'm exhausted just hearing about burning out these circuits. Like it's heavy. It's like I think the topic that we've spoken to here today, it makes my heart hurt. It's painful because and it makes me sad because I feel like we're tapping into something that's kind of a big deal out there right now. I think a lot of people blowing out their circuits and not really knowing it and hurting themselves and not knowing the pain that it puts them in, and then trying to double down.
Yeah. I definitely noticed with plant medicine, at least in my experience, there's way too many people who just keep doing it over and over again and keep trying to get more people to do it and don't, plant medicine, especially if you work with a good practitioner, your dosage is right and you know what you're doing, or the person who's working with you knows what they're doing and is able to handle it, is like a near-death experience. And you need to treat it like that. Like, you don't want to have a near-death experience every day or every week or even every 6 months. You just don't. You need to take that information and integrate it and be with it and see how it's, you're bringing all that stuff into your new house. Like, let it be there for a little while. Let yourself live in your new house for a little while. And then before you decide you're going to break it down and move again.
Yeah. Good way of putting it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Settle into your home, start paying off your mortgage.
Yeah.
Get the benefits of enjoying the creature comforts, and then go from there.
All right. Well, thanks, Chuck.
Same to you. Thanks.